Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Karen, for that introduction. Hello, Atlanta. It's great to be out here. Well, I also want to thank John Hope Bryant for his bold leadership. He has inspired so many Americans with his great work, and I want to thank him for the invitation, and I'm honored to get to be here with him today. I also want to thank your mayor, Kasim Reed, for his great work. Had a chance to spend a little bit of time with him last night. I also want to thank the board of directors and the staff of Operation Hope. All of us at HUD are so proud to call ourselves partners of Operation Hope in housing counseling, and are fans of the great work that you do. We deeply appreciate all your contributions to advancing opportunity for folks out there in the United States. And let me thank all of you in the audience for being here so early on a Saturday morning. I know that we have folks from different places. Is anybody out here from California? All right, we got some Californians. How about anybody from Illinois? How about New York? We got anybody from Florida? The great state of Texas? All right, who's from Georgia? There you go. Well, wherever you're from, it is great to be here in the city of Atlanta. And you know, I've been in D.C. now about almost 6 months, and I have two pet peeves about D.C. And it's not what you think. It doesn't have anything to do with the politicians. It's that I can't get good iced tea or good barbecue. In fact, my wife Erica and I have been searching for good barbecue restaurants, and about 2 or 3 months ago, we were at this place not too far from where we live in Woodley Park in D.C., and we sat down, and I ordered some brisket, and they brought me out like 5 different barbecue sauces that they said like were from the styles of 5 different states, and it was actually really good. And about halfway through the meal, I was telling Erica that we would have to come back here. And then on the loudspeaker, I noticed that the music in the restaurant wasn't any kind of country music. It was Pearl Jam. And it's just not the same in Washington, D.C. So I'm looking forward to getting a little bit of barbecue and a little bit with your mayor. And I'm happy to be here, especially because I know that I'm in a room of folks who truly have been change agents in your local communities. The folks in this room represent a diversity of backgrounds and of interests, yet we gather at this moment, at this time and place, to advance a common agenda that is fundamental to the future success of our nation, the agenda of opportunity. If you're black, opportunity. If you're white, opportunity. If you're young, opportunity. If you're old, opportunity. If you're rich or poor or somewhere in between, what we want is opportunity. And the fact is that the only way that our nation can fulfill its true potential in this 21st century global economy is if all its citizens have a chance to fulfill theirs. And for every American, regardless of their station in life, the first step in this journey toward empowerment begins with a precious commodity that this organization knows very well, and that's hope. As you all know, my boss, President Obama, knows a little something about hope as well. Despite all the historic economic challenges and political roadblocks that he's faced, he's never wavered in his commitment to building a stronger America with a path to prosperity for all Americans. Along the way, there have been some critics of this. Some folks have ridiculed this idea of broad prosperity as more fantasy than reality. But let there be no doubt on this day in January of 2015 that this is real. It's an economy that's building momentum, It's 11.2 million new jobs created over the last 58 months. It's an unemployment rate that's dropped below 6%, the fastest decline since 1984. It's a manufacturing sector that's stronger than it's been since the 1990s, and it's a housing market that's coming back as an engine of prosperity. Home prices have risen for 33 straight months. Families are feeling more secure because homeowners' equity is up $4 trillion since 2009. More construction workers are back on the job because home building has doubled. Across the nation, folks are looking to the future with renewed optimism. And our challenge in 2015, in this room, in corporate boardrooms, in city halls and state legislatures, and in Washington, D.C., is to ensure now that everyone in our nation can take part in this prosperity. And don't get me wrong, we know that there's still a lot of work to do. A lot of folks still to lift up. This will take what the late mayor of Atlanta, Maynard Jackson, once called the 3 B's: the ballot, the book, and the buck. In other words, it takes a responsive government that puts people first. It takes a quality education because brain power truly is the new currency of success in the 21st century global economy. And it takes financial empowerment. We call HUD the Department of Opportunity. And I'm proud that 2015 marks 50 years that we've been advocating for justice in all forms, particularly in housing. And HUD has served as a champion of some of the most vulnerable in our nation. The simple truth is that we believe in people, in their potential, in their possibilities. We know that the folks we serve have the same aspirations as everyone else. They've got the brains and the talent to be the next great entrepreneurs, teachers, community leaders, and public officials. They just need the opportunity to get there. And in this year, 2015, we're eager to work with you to move our nation forward in its march toward a more perfect union. One important step in this march is ensuring that public housing is a springboard to success. It's no secret to anyone in this room that breaking the cycle of poverty is tough. Success in the global economy today requires specialized skills. Wages have barely increased in recent decades, and many feel like they're running in place, working harder and harder just to get by. The key to combating these challenges is education. And that's why one of my priorities as secretary has been to bring new life to efforts that boost access to knowledge and to job training. We recently allocated $75 million to hundreds of public housing authorities as part of our Family Self-Sufficiency Initiative. It's linking residents with the education, job training, and other services folks need to build assets and to improve their lives. We're also bolstering an initiative called Jobs Plus to support folks as they move toward economic independence. These efforts have made a profound difference in the lives of folks like Denisha Catrone from Arizona. Denisha lived in public housing with her 2 children when she signed up for the initiative. She was unemployed and unable to pay off her debts. Then her life began to change. She got good job training and went to a local medical facility. She took financial literacy courses and paid off loans. Then she brought up her credit score and built up $30,000 in her savings account. And then Denisha used that to buy a new home and start a new chapter in her life. That's the value of our work. We're also getting businesses involved. We're launching an initiative to increase contracting opportunities for businesses that hire in low-income areas. In communities facing economic hardship, it's just not right to outsource opportunity from them. With this effort, we're keeping dollars in the local community. Across the board, we're working to expand access to opportunity. And you know what? We're going to keep at it until every single public housing resident has the chance to do better, to move on up and out. Another step in the march is revitalizing our nation's most troubled communities. As everyone here knows, too often your future is shaped by the zip code that you live in. Right now, there are young folks who aren't getting a fair shake because of their circumstances. I know, as I'm sure you do, that our nation can do better than this. Nobody should be born at a disadvantage. That's why the President has launched efforts like Choice Neighborhoods and Promise Zones. These initiatives put local leaders in the driver's seat, right on the front lines of sparking opportunity in America's urban communities. We want your vision to come to life. We're stressing a big picture approach to community building. We know that investing in housing alone can't succeed if the streets around it aren't safe, if there are limited transit options in the neighborhood, or if jobs are too scarce, or the schools just don't measure up. So we're working hard to break down the bureaucratic barriers that have prevented our agencies from working together in the past toward common goals. We're seeing changes in cities like Boston, where they're transforming housing in the Dorchester neighborhood and linking it to new jobs and a new factory. We're seeing changes in Chicago's Woodlawn community. The University of Chicago has agreed to participate and agreed to help place its campus officers in key locations near new housing so that young children can get to and from school safely. From coast to coast, we're seeing community development that's helping folks turn the page and get a fresh start. And this is just the start. We look forward to working with you to keep the momentum going, because together we must ensure that no child is ever limited by that zip code that he or she lives in. And finally, to achieve a more perfect union, we must ensure that every American, regardless of their station in life or what they look like, can live in the neighborhood and the housing that they choose. I have no doubt that if we went around this room and talked through folks' experience and the experience of their parents and grandparents, we would get many poignant stories where that wasn't true. Sometimes in the past, unfortunately still, too often times today. HUD enforces the Fair Housing Act of 1968, and although I think most of us would agree that a lot has changed in the last 5 decades, discrimination is still a cancer that confronts our nation. A 2013 HUD study found that African American renters who contact agents about listings were told about 11% fewer units than non-Hispanic whites. Latino renters were told about 12% fewer units, and Asian American renters were told about 10% fewer units. We know that discrimination has no place in the United States, which is why we've made leveling the playing field a top priority at HUD. Last year alone, HUD and its fair housing partners got justice for nearly 20,000 folks who believed that they were subjected to discrimination. And we'll keep pursuing these cases with a keen eye and a fair mind, because no person should be denied a chance to live because of what they look like, or where they come from, or who they love, or whether they're disabled, or other circumstances in life. And when they do decide where they want to live, we want to give all responsible folks the chance to buy their first home. You see, home ownership represents stability and security, and it's still the cornerstone of the American dream. HUD's Federal Housing Administration has helped generations of families to achieve this dream. We've insured 1.6 million first-time home buyers in just the last 3 years. And as we look to the future, we want to make home ownership more affordable for all families, particularly working families. That's why last week President Obama announced in Phoenix that the FHA will reduce its annual mortgage insurance premiums by 0.5 percentage point by the end of this month. And we expect our premium reduction to help more than 2 million borrowers save an average of $900 a year. And we think that and are confident that it will stimulate up to 250,000 new borrowers to use FHA over the next 3 years. By bringing these costs down, we're really hoping to lift folks up. Because of these efforts, we believe that more Americans will have a chance to share in the American dream. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what our nation is all about. It's about lifting each other up, about fighting for one another, investing in one another, and working for one another. It's about every person doing for himself and herself and their families, but also for others. It's not about every person for himself. It's about creating a better future where we can all contribute and thrive in the United States in the 21st century. And as community leaders, I know you're on the front lines of this work. And you do it in the face, oftentimes, of diminishing resources and sometimes criticism from folks out there. This week, we celebrate the life and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. King once said that, quote, "Change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle." We've faced obstacles, but we're clearing those hurdles, and economic momentum is building. Progress is happening. How do I know that? Because millions of jobs is progress. A growing housing market is progress. Thriving communities is progress. Expanding opportunities is progress. And now all of us in this room have got to finish the job. Operation Hope, I know you're committed to this mission, and HUD will be by your side for as long as it takes. Let's work together to give the underserved the path they need to succeed. Let's work to empower folks with the tools they need to thrive. Let's make the next chapter in the American story its greatest yet. Let's make this 21st century another American century together. Thank you. Thank you.
Don't move.
Okay.
That's right. While you're standing up, I'm going to take the honor of taking a selfie, if you don't mind.
Okay.
We've got to tell people you were here.
You won't remember, I'll be the one. You won't forget.